Hi, I'm John Crane. Welcome to Proline, the longest-running sports handicapping show in America. It is Friday, direct from Las Vegas. Let's take a look at the upcoming NFL weekend here in Week 2. Before we get to that, I want to remind you, Jim Feist on that sizzling run with Inner Circle Baseball releases 47 and 30. Another one available at Vegas Sports Masters, as well as a 3-pack in baseball and a rivalry game of the month. He also has a pair of NFL winners available as well. And if you want to get both those NFL winners from Jim, it's $50 online at Vegas Sports Masters. You can get both for $15 with a 2-0 guarantee. You will win. You get 7 days free. You will go 2-0. Just call Vegas Sports Masters at 855-546-9467. That's Jim Wins. Okay, let's get to some NFL action, starting with this Friday night game in Seattle. Minnesota Vikings looking impressive last week as they shut down the Buffalo Bills on the road with that great talent they have on the defensive line. They're facing another team that likes to run the football here in Seattle, and we got the Seahawks opened a 3-point favorite, now up to 4, so clearly that home field edge that Seattle has, even in preseason, is showing itself here as the money is going on Seattle. But this Minnesota team, they also play hard for their head coach, as the Seahawks do. Mike Zimmer has been great. Look what he did last year in preseason. Undefeated with a 3-1 spread record. 2 years ago, 4-1 straight up and against the spread. So and then they won last week at Buffalo. So he's 9-1 straight up, 8-2 against the spread, coaching the Minnesota Vikings in August football when the games are not supposed to mean anything. And he's got a team, though, that's working itself back as far as the quarterback situation, and they've revamped the offensive line. All those injuries they had last year just killed their balance on offense, so they're working through new offensive linemen. They got some new pieces in there they're shifting around, and they only scored 17 points in last week's game. So it's clearly the defense that is going to lead them even in preseason. And they got the Seattle team that they too they're working in some new faces on the offensive line. That has been the weak spot. They had the lowest payroll for offensive linemen a year ago, and it showed as they struggled badly. However, they didn't struggle badly last week on the road against the Chargers. They just whipped the Chargers in the highest scoring blowout of the weekend last week. And that's common with Seattle. They play hard for Coach Pete Carroll, even in preseason. And, of course, the strength of Seattle is that dominant defense. Take a look at last year's meeting between these teams in August. Minnesota went here in preseason, and as an underdog, they won a defensive battle 18-11. Had a good first half, up 11-0, pounding out 6 sacks against the Seattle offensive line. Tonight's game, probably have to look at a defensive game here. We've seen the total move a little bit from 40.5 to 40. Wouldn't be surprised to see a defensive battle. Or let's take a look at a Saturday game in the NFL. You got Kansas City playing at Cincinnati, and you got a Chiefs team that already announced their quarterback rotation, and they're stepping it up, which isn't always the norm in preseason, but some coaches do this. Andy Reid is going to play as Alex Smith the entire first half, and then you're going to look at Pat Mahomes, the rookie quarterback that they moved up to take in the draft. He's going to play the third quarter, and then Tyler Bray in the fourth quarter. That's a pretty decent quarterback rotation, and we're seeing a significant money movement on this game, and that's because of the announcement that Reid made. Cincinnati Bengals open a 2-point favorite at home, while now Kansas City is the favorite anywhere from 2.5 to 3. The total has gone up from 39.5 to 40. And that's partly because of Alex Smith playing the entire first half, and he looked really good in the one stretch they had last week when the first team offense went out. He led them right down the field, 75 yards, 8 plays to go up 7-0. Andy Reid said, "I've had enough." So that's a good sign for the Kansas City offense. And now they're getting the starters to play a little more. The Cincinnati team working in some new pieces, and Marvin Lewis, they got a nice win last week, but he really hasn't been putting much focus on preseason games. His last 5 preseason games, 1-3 straight up and against the spread, and that includes a losing home mark, 1-2 straight up in ATS. Also keep in mind Kansas City in week 2 of preseason is a rather astonishing 0-14 against the spread. They have not covered a preseason spread game in week 2 since 2002. Tom Brady was in his second year as a starter in the league. That's how far back that is. All right, let's take a look at another Saturday game. The Bears are playing at the Arizona Cardinals. Unusual game because it's week 2 for the Bears, but week 3 for the Cardinals. And, of course, you have the home team here as the favorite. Good size favorite here of 3.5 with a total of 40.5, and it's kind of leveled out at 3. And even some 2.5s out there, so some money coming in on the Chicago Bears. And it's probably because of the quarterback situation. They really didn't know who's going to be the quarterback, signing Mike Glennon and then drafting Trubisky out of North Carolina. And the kid, Trubisky, he was great last week. 18 of 25, 166 yards passing, no picks, and a touchdown. Bad news is the Mike Glennon was terrible. 2 of 8 passing with 1 interception. Of course, they have Mark Sanchez on the roster too, so they need one of these guys to step up. And right now, let's call it Mitch Trubisky 1 and Mike Glennon 0. And also, the Bears had terrific ground attack with 173 yards rushing, so that's a good sign, which they have a very good offensive line, actually, despite a struggling all-around team last year. Their offensive line was pretty good, and that'll be a strength of this year. This Arizona Cardinal team playing here in week 3. They lost to the Dallas Cowboys in that Hall of Fame game, but put it all together last week. A 20-10 win over the Oakland Raiders. They really cruised. They were up 17-3 at the half. And the quarterback rotation is above average for August play for the Cardinals. You got Carson Palmer, Drew Stanton, and Blaine Gabbert. The 3 of them last week combined to go 20 of 32 passing, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And that's a very good rotation. What's also good about Arizona is the defensive depth and talent. It is strong across the board. They were outstanding last season despite a losing record overall. And then in that first game against the Oakland Raiders, they allowed just 73 yards rushing and 180 passing for the game. And this is week 3 for them, their second consecutive home game. Kind of too many edges here for the home team, the Arizona Cardinals. I would have to back them at something like a 23-16 final score. Let's take a look at a Sunday NFL game for the weekend. You got the New Orleans Saints, who are heading west to play the Chargers, the new Los Angeles Chargers. And the Saints didn't look too good last week as they lost to the Cleveland Browns 20-14 on the road. So this is their second straight home game. However, it wasn't quite as bad as you might think. They didn't use Drew Brees, who's going to see some action this time. And 2 of their 3 quarterbacks, the backups, actually played pretty well. Ryan Nassib and Chase Daniel combined 16 of 30 passing, over 130 yards, only 1 sack between them, and then 1 touchdown and no interceptions. And their defense played exceptionally well against the run last week. And this is a revamped Saints defense, and they held the Cleveland Browns to 71 yards rushing, just 3.2 yards per carry. And despite losing, it was only a 7-6 game at the half. They're going to be heading out to the Chargers, who really don't have any fan base here in Los Angeles. They play in a terrible stadium, which is really a joke. They have a new coach in Anthony Lynn. He came over from the Buffalo Bills, where he worked with the offensive line. And after week 1 of this guy, you can't be impressed at all. They got blown out at home by Seattle. It was just an awful game all around. They worked on preventing turnovers all camp, and they were turning the ball over left and right. And of course, they struggled badly defensively too. So it was just a catastrophe for the Chargers in front of their new fans. A 48-17 beatdown at home. Seattle had 133 yards rushing and over 300 yards passing. Talk about giving up big plays in the secondary. And that's not a surprise, as the Chargers had so many weak spots a year ago on the defense. They do not look improved for this new coaching staff. The quarterback situation did not produce last week, giving up 3 sacks and 2 interceptions, and the ground game was non-existent. 72 yards rushing, 3.3 yards per carry, so not any good signs at all, and yet they're a 3-point home favorite. Looking in bounce-back mode is what the odds makers are thinking, but boy, with Drew Brees playing and a revamped Saints defense that looks better, I wouldn't be backing the Chargers in the way that they performed in that one. All right, make sure you check out Vegas Sports Masters for all the plays from the winning handicappers. And if you want to get that special from Jim Feist, he's got a pair of NFL releases already available online. That's a $50 value, but if you want to get both for $15 with that 2-0 guarantee, just call 855-546-9467. That'll do it for the weekend edition of Proline. We'll see you back on Monday, and good luck with the games, everyone.